Ani Minogajep to all you Sagamonians and other listeners out there on Turtle Island. It's Nijwaso Gijagad, and you're listening to Bimaadiziwin Radio, the Sagamok Hour, on Algoma Manitoulин's biggest variety, 94.1 and 98.7 Moose FM.
Mishumis wabano kwegeni indashnikas makwendo dem Sagamok Eshkakogan and donchi migwechen migo mishumis kenagego emijang migwechke manda nagishgak piwasya shane migwechke gi mijang smadane seven migwechke kenagego sa hejam namachishkang minoge wim namachishkang when kenagego danem nothing minoge kenagego mampi en chikmatke kenagego damna machishkawat migwechen migosa kenabesdage chikeno wenigeno damna machishkawat migwechen migoge benochik damna madswat wenigeno the kwamchigaswat migwechkeno kwam chinishnabek wenigeno the kinomagyat the kwamchigat geno tabsindonget migwechen migodash kenagego eshimna machishkang migwech genin the kitse emna machishkang migwechen migodash kenagego migwech
Oh, miigwech to the Bear Creek Drummers from Batchewana First Nation and Elder Dolores Trudeau for making the start of this show feel real Indigenous and proud with their opening songs and opening prayer. I'd like to say miigwech to all you listeners for tuning in for today's episode. I'd also like to welcome any new listeners who are joining us today with a big ol' aho ani miigwech. Anishinaabe and Ada host, Yellow Bean, Indian corn soup loving Sagamonian, Bradley Trudeau. Oh, Yellow Bean and Indian corn soup sound so good right now. I know everyone says this about their own mother, but sema down and smudge out my mother makes the best damn yellow bean and Indian corn soup around. Just those snotty dumplings and the yellow bean soup and Indian corn soup, oh, the best. Or you get a nice hunk of that delicious pork hock. So good. Oh, creator, listen to me talking about food as always. Let's get on with the show. Today we are featuring a story that's been passed down generation to generation by the late Dominic Eshkakogan, as well as a Anishinaabe and phrase of the week brought to you by me as I take my journey in learning our language. Again, if I messed up any word here and there, don't hesitate to stop by the office or call and come and correct me. Our featured musicians for this episode is Drives the Common Man an Indian giver. Towards the end of the show, I sit down with Sagamok's Director of Education, Vance McPherson, for a conversation you won't want to miss. But first, let's start with some announcements. Harvest season is almost here. This October 6th to 10th will be Sagamok's annual fall harvest. There will be lots of traditional workshops, hunting, fishing, canoeing, medicine making, and many more activities and teachings throughout the week. Save the date. We hope to see you out there this fall harvest taking place October 6th to the 10th, Bimaadiziwin. Here is another reminder that Woodland Wealth's Carol Ann Budd brings free financial planning and wealth management services into the community each month for Sagamok members. Her next visit to Sagamok will be September 23rd and 24th. At Woodland Wealth, Carol Ann Budd provides the ability to secure your financial future and help navigate the path to your goals and financial dreams. Carol Ann participates in the transformation of the narrative of Indigenous people and wealth. Mark your calendars for Carol Ann's next visit on September 23rd and 24th. You can find her at Sagamok's post office from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. To book an appointment for financial planning or investment advice, call 613-767-1234 or email hello@woodlandwealth.com. Drop-ins are also welcome. Next, we have an announcement from Sagamok's Justice Program. The following are scheduled court dates: September 22nd, October 6th, November 17th, December 8th. Youth court takes place at 10 a.m., followed by adult court at 10:30 a.m. Community members can access court at the Sagamok Justice Office, located in the Millennium Center at 610 Sagamok Road. For more information, please call the Sagamok Justice Program at 705-865-1884. And now we have a message from Anishinaabeg Police Services. Online incident reporting is now available. Residents can now report non-emergency crimes to police anytime, from any device, anywhere. Visit AnishinabegPolice.ca and click Report Online. Non-emergency incident reporting phone calls can still be made to the Provincial Communication Center at 1-888-310-1122. New online reporting is available at AnishinabegPolice.ca. Mama Westwind's Koganaswin Initiative recently held urban engagement sessions for members of Sagamok in Sudbury and Sault Ste. Marie. These sessions allow community members to see their feedback reflected in the draft child well-being law and draft system design, as well as another chance to provide additional feedback. There are still 2 opportunities for members of Sagamok living off reserve to participate: September 27th and 28th in Toronto, and October 4th and 5th in Ottawa. Day 1 will cover the Koganaswin Child Well-Being Law, followed by a feast and social. Day 2 will include an RHT discussion and access to membership services, status cards, Jordan's Principle, and more. All participants will have an opportunity to win door prizes, including a family getaway weekend. The vision of Koganaswin is quickly becoming a reality in Sagamok, and it is critical that you continue to be a part of it. For questions or to register for the upcoming sessions in Toronto or Ottawa, please contact Jasmine Abitong at 705-865-2421, extension 204, or Abitong_Jasmine at sagamok.ca. And now a message from Sagamok's Lifelong Learning Center. Are you trying to reconnect with your roots, explore Anishinaabe-Moan as a non-Indigenous ally, or enhance your current communication skills for that sit-down tea time with Gokumas? Well, look no further. This opportunity is open to all and fully supported by Sagamok Anishinaabeg. With free beginner Anishinaabe-Moan courses, learn Anishinaabe-Moan Basic online for free through Good Learning Anywhere. As part of this initiative, we are offering an incentive for all Sagamok community members who enroll and complete the 2 beginner Anishinaabe-Moan courses through Good Learning Anywhere. Email your certificates to hr@sagamok.ca to enter. Draw date is October 31st. For assistance with creating your profile, contact Darla Southwood, Southwood_Darla at sagamok.ca. And finally, we are excited to announce that our show, the Sagamok Hour, is now available on our website. If you missed a show on the radio, head over to www.sagamokanishinabek.com/the Sagamok Hour to listen to full episodes. That's all we have for announcements. We're going to take a quick little music break, and we're going to start with our first featured artist, Drives the Common Man, who is a Mi'kmaq singer, songwriter, producer, and visionary artist hailing from Southern Ontario, Canada. With an astounding 200,000 strong following on TikTok, Drives the Common Man has ignited a viral sensation, captivating hearts and minds across the globe. With a magnetic stage presence and a sound that defines conventions, this musical dynamo guarantees an experience that's not just memorable, but truly extraordinary. Here's their song, We Made It, from their latest album, Grief and Purpose.
Mourning mothers and fathers of young soldiers, sons and stolen daughters, I'll quench my thirst for a better world in polluted waters. If wars can make a change, would my words still stay the same? With loaded guns, duck and cover, don't run. The damage has been done, the war's already won. Face it, we made it, ignore the kids on the pavement. On and on with the take that, take this. Who's to say we won't ever make it out? On and on with the take that, take this. Who's to say we won't ever make it out? Out of time for guidance, now all we got left is violence to confide in. But truth be told, the silence is deafening. We're stuck trembling, no time to shake, still wide awake, surrounded by walls that we have to break down to get some truth. Air drugs, water drugs, take me home, it's underground. Face it, we made it, ignore the kids on the pavement. On and on with the take that, take this. Who's to say we won't ever make it out? Face it, we made it, ignore the kids on the pavement. On and on with the take that, take this. Who's to say we won't ever make it out? On and on with the take that, take this. Who's to say we won't ever make it out? Face it, we made it, ignore the kids on the pavement. Face it, we made it, on and on with the take that, take this. Who's to say we won't ever make it out?
Oh, Miigwech Drives the Common Man for that song. Now it's time for the Sagamok News. Bimaadiziwin Radio, the Sagamok Hour. On July 28th, claims and negotiation staff, lands, resources, and environment staff, along with Sagamok Enterprises and Sagamok Construction, visited the Agnew Lake Tailings Management Area, also known as ALTMA. They were joined by Gima Angus Toulouse, as well as councillors Nelson Toulouse, Arnelda Bennett, and Paul Eshkakogan. The tour was led by staff from the Ministry of Mines. ALTMA is located 50 kilometers west of Sudbury and 25 kilometers northwest of Narran Center. It was constructed in 1967 to house radioactive tailings from Agnew Lake Underground Uranium Mine, which Kerr Addison Mines Limited owned. Mining operations ceased in 1979. The mine was turned over to the province of Ontario in the early 1990s. ALTMA remains the responsibility of Ontario's Ministry of Energy and Mines, also known as Mines. Mines is responsible for compliance activities such as water quality monitoring and inspections, maintenance activities to meet the conditions of their new waste nuclear substance license requirements, and submitting an annual report to the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, who is the site regulator. Sagamok's primary concern is the deteriorating conditions at the Altma sites and mines in action to address deficiencies. The cap and cover must be monitored and maintained to mitigate impacts to both surface and groundwater, which pose a threat to the Spanish River watershed, part of Sagamok's ancestral territory. Agnew Lake is just one of 1,100 abandoned mine sites in the Robinson-Huron Treaty Territory. Each one needs to be managed for the protection of environmental and human health. Abandoned mining sites are not necessarily a concern in and of themselves, however, monitoring remains critical. Looking to the future, Sagamok would like to build monitoring capacity in the territory, for example, the training and hiring First Nations monitors to assist with overseeing these sites. And of course, abandoned sites are only one relatively small component of mining's 100-year-plus history in Sagamok's ancestral territory. As well as its projected future, the Sudbury Basin has been identified as an important site for critical minerals. Why does this matter? Ontario recently passed Bill 5, and Canada's Senate passed Bill C5 not long after. Ontario's Bill 5 sets up special economic zones and changes rules about planning the environment and government purchasing. It also replaces the old Endangered Species Act with a new Species Conservation Act, with the goal of making it faster to get projects approved and bring in more investment. Canada's Bill C5 works to remove trade and job barriers between provinces and gives the federal government more power to speed up big projects that are seen as important for the country. Both bills have been criticized for undermining the government's duty to consult Indigenous communities, and both have the potential to impact the mining industry as well as Sagamok's ancestral territory. In September, Sagamok will meet with representatives from the province, specifically the Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, and the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss two aspects of Ontario's Bill 5. 1. What exactly are these new special economic zones? Where will they be? We know that Northern Ontario's Ring of Fire has been getting a lot of attention in response to Bill 5. But what about other regions? Could the Sudbury Basin be chosen for its abundance of critical minerals? 2. How will Sagamok be impacted by Bill 5's changes to the Ontario Heritage Act? These discussions are critical for ensuring Sagamok's voice is heard as new legislation reshapes how mining and other industries develop in Ontario and across Canada. With abandoned mine sites like Agnew Lake already requiring attention, the community must remain vigilant as new projects are pushed ahead and under Bills 5 and C5. Sagamok's priority is to protect its territory, exercise its rights, and build the capacity needed to monitor and manage both the impacts of the past and the pressures of the future. More information will be shared following Sagamok's meeting with the province. That's all we have today for Sagamok's news. Stay tuned for a story from Dominic Eshkakogan, as well my interview with Vance McPherson, Director of Education for Sagamok. Bimaadiziwin Radio, the Sagamok Hour. We have a back-to-school message from Sagamok Student Mental Wellness Specialist, Raven Hammond. This goes out to all the students making the leap from Biidaaban to high school this September. Here's what Raven has to offer as support to students and caregivers. Starting high school is a big step, and it's completely normal to feel nervous. Unsure or even overwhelmed? You are not alone. Many students feel the same way. As you begin this new chapter, remember that it's okay to take things one day at a time. Stay organized with your schoolwork, set small goals, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Joining clubs, sports, or other activities is a great way to meet new people and find your place. Most importantly, take care of your mental health. Get enough sleep, eat well, and make times for the things you enjoy. If you're feeling stressed out or anxious, talk to someone you trust. Maybe it's a friend, teacher, counselor, or family member. You don't have to figure everything out right away. You've got a community behind you, and you're more capable than you think. Miigwech, Raven. Bimaadiziwin Radio, the Sagamok Hour. It's a calm, chilly summer day in Sagamok. It's noon, I sit along the river eating my classic Joey burger from Joey's on the River, the perfect combination of a smash burger, grilled onions, cheese, and that tangy burger sauce on a warm bun. As I chew and stare off into the distance, thinking, what the heck am I going to do for the next radio show? I begin to look beyond the trees, and just past them, it hits me. The famous Sagamok Indian rock formation. I slammed the burger down my gullet, marched to my vehicle, and rushed to my grandparents' house to start my investigation. As soon as I walked in the door, no one was home. Shucks, I thought. The old crows aren't here. But before I turn and take a step back outside, I noticed a frame painting hung above the couch where my beloved grandma likes to relax. It's a painting of the Indian Head. Judging by the coffee-colored paper that was once white, it must be a very old painting. Inside the frame beside the painting is an old essay. I'm going to share the essay with you now. It's titled Sagamok Indian Head by Dominic Eshkakogan. A long time ago, most Indians lived at the mouths of the larger rivers. Most reserves today are still located on these rivers. The Spanish River was known by the Indians by another name, Biidaaban. I was along this river that the people traveled to go north into the hunting grounds in the fall. In the spring, they would travel back down, catching fish at the foot of the rapids and falls, where the fish were spawning. They would continue out to the large lake and pick blueberries on the rocky islands and other berries along the mainland in the summertime. In this land, there were also giant cannibals known as the Wendigo, who killed and ate the Indian people when they were sleeping. The Wendigo was created from men and animals by careless and evil medicine men. The good medicine men taught the people how to kill the Wendigos. For instance, one night a group of hunters were camped together when they heard the roars and the cries of a Wendigo a way off. The good medicine men in the group told them to get a long dry pole and burn the end into a sharp black point. He told everyone to pretend they were sleeping, leaving the strongest and tallest man to hide with the pole in the dark. When the Wendigo approached the campfire and could be seen as tall as the trees, the man with the pole speared him in the heart. As the Wendigo died, his form changed into a porcupine impaled on the end of the pole. Today you may pound a porcupine's head, totally crushing it, or you may shoot his head to pieces. He will still live for a long time. Only a shot through the heart will kill it instantly. One day a group of men were camped at the mouth of a small river along the Biidaaban, some distance below the big rapids, Bimaadiziwin. They had been fishing for the last run of small suckers. One of the group killed a beaver because he was tired of fish and dried meat, decided to cook it for supper. The leader saw that the man in his hurry did not remove the glands inside the legs and left the kneecaps on. As the leader was cooking his dried meat, the other man used the same fire to cook his beaver. Move your pot and don't let the steam from your pot mix with mine. If it does, I fear something dreadful is going to happen, said the leader. Although the man moved his pot to the other side of the fire, nobody noticed that a breeze blew the steam from the beaver to the other pot, and the steam got mixed. During the night, one of the men awoke and saw their leader change into a Wendigo. He crawled off into the darkness and ran away. None of the other men were ever seen alive. Every summer, the Wendigo would return to the area and catch some Indian who did not know he was there. After some time, the Indian people got together and said, we have to use the river to go back and forth between our summer home and winter hunting grounds. So they got some of the most powerful medicine men from the village and the surrounding villages on the other rivers because no one could kill the Wendigo. He always defeated the men who were brave enough to try and spear him. The medicine men said, we have to know where he sleeps whenever he does. A small group of brave young men said they would look for a place where he goes to lay down. They found his bed of branches at the foot of some high cliffs along the river. They went back and told the medicine men where his bed was. Then the medicine men, together with their drums and rattles, Shishiguan, called on the good spirits, thunderbirds, to call lightning and thunder on the cliff overhanging the Wendigo's bed. As he lays there to keep out of the rain, the thunderbirds pounded the cliffs until they fell down into pieces and buried the Wendigo. When the rocks came rolling down, his body was covered completely except for his head. Upon his death, the Wendigo's good spirit was returned to the kind and gentle leader he was before, and this good spirit watched over the travelers over the river, and facing west has watched over the people of Sagamok ever since in the image on the cliffs. Sometimes his evil spirit could be heard on the little lake above the cliffs. This lake is called Manitou Sagamok. Years later, as the road into Sagamok was being built, the workers noticed the head of an Indian with a headdress on the cliff overlooking the river, his mouth open as he cries out in pain. Part of this story and parts of others told to me as a young boy by one of the greatest storytellers of Sagamok have been put together to arrive at the legend of the Indian Head. Legends are teachings. There is good and evil in every one of us. Carelessness can bring out the evil in us. Miigwech to the late Dominic Eshkakogan for that little bit of history of our home. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you or a family member have any stories like Dominic's, I encourage you to reach out to me through email or come by the IT and Communications Department, and we can help you tell and preserve your Sagamok story. Bimaadiziwin Radio, the Sagamok Hour. On today's Sagamok Cyber Smarts, we're talking about why a strong password isn't enough and how to protect yourself using multi-factor authentication. Up until about 4 years ago, a strong password was enough to protect your valuable information on the internet. This has changed because cybercriminals are becoming more advanced with their tactics. And recently, artificial intelligence has enabled new and more advanced password cracking tools. This means a strong password is no longer enough to keep criminals out of your personal information. This is why multi-factor authentication is essential. So what is multi-factor authentication? The easy way to think of multi-factor authentication is through a real-life example. Imagine you have a safe at home with lots of valuable possessions inside. The safe is protected with a code which provides one layer of security. But let's say someone gets hold of that code. They can use it to open the safe. Let's say that in addition to a code, you also needed another element to open the safe. For example, a device that scanned your face or a text message that was sent to your phone. The fact that you need those additional steps to open the safe makes it more difficult for anyone else to open it. It's the same with multi-factor authentication. Say, for example, that you've turned on multi-factor authentication for your online banking. If someone guesses your password, they can't still log into your account. To log in, they also need to provide another piece of information, like a one-time code that gets sent to your email address or cell phone number. In a summary, multi-factor authentication is a security method that requires users to provide 2 or more verification factors to gain access to an online account or system. Here's the ranking of the most common types of multi-factor authentication solutions from strongest to weakest. Biometric authentication, such as using your fingerprint or facial recognition. Software, token, Microsoft, or Google Authenticator are good examples of this. Email one-time passcode. After entering your password, an email is sent to you with a code that usually expires if not used to log in within a few minutes. SMS one-time passcode. This is similar to an email code, but it is sent as a text message to your cell phone instead. Again, these codes are for one-time use and usually expire. Multi-factor authentication is a key component of keeping yourself cyber secure. So don't wait. Use multi-factor authentication on your accounts now and whenever possible. Select the strongest authentication option available to you. If a biometric option is available, it is the easiest and most secure option to choose, but go ahead with any option that is available. Miigwech to Sagamok's IT department for providing us with valuable information for this month's Sagamok Cyber Smarts. Bimaadiziwin Radio, the Sagamok Hour. Our next artist is Indian Giver, who are an indigenous-led hardcore band with artists from Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. Their music is as urgent as the issues still facing indigenous communities across Turtle Island. Indian Giver's message is straightforward. They aim to promote reconciliation through reclamation. They seek to take back the spaces of punk, hardcore, and metal, which have been predominantly dominated by white artists and audience for decades. What was once regarded as a derogatory term, Indian Giver is using it to hold a flame and provide clear instructions to reclaim all that has been lost or stolen by colonialism. Here's their song, Today is a Good Day, from their album Dark Legacy 3. September. It's that first step into that fall-like weather where the days are still a little hot and the nights are just cool enough to wear a sweater. The kids are in school and life begins to transition from that lazy summer disarray to scheduled busy days. I start my day with a coffee from Espanola Coffee Roasters, topped with cold foam and accompanied by a slice of toast and homemade blackcurrant jam. My oldest walks out the door for school while my little ones destroy the living room and wait to be dropped off to daycare. As I drive the little ones to Biidaaban Daycare, I notice the old Biidaaban school, now home to the Lifelong Learning Center. I begin to wonder what's in store for this year in education for our youth and those who want to continue their education. I drop the little ones off and head to the LLC to speak with Vance McPherson, Director of Education for Sagamok Indian Head. He's got a lot to share about what's going on in Sagamok's daycare, elementary, secondary, post-secondary, and lifelong learning center. Let's take a listen to what Vance had to share with us. Aho, Ani, you're listening to Bimaadiziwin Radio, the Sagamok Hour. I'm here with Vance McPherson, Director of Education for Sagamok Indian Head, First Nation. How you doing?
Ani, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
And we're just going to do a little interview sit down here, talk about Sagamok Education Department as a whole and what you all do. So September is a busy and exciting time in the Education Department as elementary and secondary students head back to school at Biidaaban and Espanola High School. What are you most looking forward to this year for Sagamok students?
I am so excited for this academic year. It is going to be a really great year. We are working really hard at Sagamok Education to expand our land-based programming, our cultural programming, and our Anishinaabe programming. So we started to see a lot of that last year with the addition of land-based instructor. We're going to be building upon that more this year. There's now an arbor at the school. There's going to be a space for cooking meals. So we're really looking forward to that. The staff has been working with Indigenous scholars to think about how to redo the entire curriculum at Biidaaban around the medicine wheel and around the seasons and the cycles. So we're going to see a little bit of difference in terms of how the year, at least the curricular year, is organized and the sort of things that are taught. So we're really excited to continue to work with the elders and knowledge keepers on that. And right off the hop, once we start in September, we've got an RHT gathering that some of our kids are going to be going to in Sault Ste. Marie. There's going to be a trip to the Ojibwe Cultural Foundation on the island for viewing some historic Sagamok artifacts, national artifacts of Sagamok. There's an Eagle staff gathering at Chiging, and Biidaaban Kinamagigmik is honored to have an Eagle staff, and so we'll be present with that Eagle staff, and we'll be there with others. And, you know, that's just September alone, and that's going to bring us to the fall harvest, which is obviously, you know, a huge deal for the community. This year, we're really boosting supports for literacy and for special education, both in the classroom and beyond the classroom. And really, based on advice from elders within the community, we're really working on anti-bullying and school safety this year. So we've actually added a full-time student mental wellness specialist to help us make sure that we're doing everything that we can in a good way. High school is also going to be a really exciting year, and our partnership with the Rainbow District School Board is fantastic. They're adding a specialist high skill major program that includes leadership, community, and culture as a part of it. They're adding a number of really interesting and innovative courses. There's a hair and cosmetology course that is going to be happening, which is really cool. And they're working to build on co-op dual credit and other sort of opportunities in post-secondary visits. So really looking forward to continuing to work with our Rainbow partners this year for the high school students as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I really like that you're implementing more cultural stuff into the education, because growing up, we didn't really have a lot of that myself here. And it's nice to see that, and the anti-bullying and like the mental health awareness, like I really like that, to see an evolutionary step in our education system. It's such a big issue all over, and you know, we're not unique in that. And also, we have some great opportunities with such a strong community and such great leadership and ideas from our elders, from our knowledge keepers, from our parents, from our families. And we've been working very closely with them to figure out, what those new paths need to look like. So we're really excited about this year. Oh, me too. I'm excited, especially having my own kids in the education system here. So I know I have a daughter, 13. She's very happy to be here going to school, because she's like, oh, this is so different. I never got to experience anything like this at my old school. Oh, fantastic. And learning Anishinaabe-Moan. So she's very, very proud for that. So we know that Sagamok Education is also responsible for a community's daycare, which operates 12 months per year. Is there anything particular, special, or interesting happening at the daycare level you'd like to share with the listeners? Yeah, and we do operate 12 months a year, the daycare. It really doesn't stop. It does slow down a little bit in the summer, and registrations are open. The registration forms are available right at the daycare down the new subdivision road there for folks who want to attend. It is a provincial daycare. There's always exciting things going on at the daycare. So when we added the land-based instructor, we made sure it was clear that the land-based instructor is supporting the entire education system. So he's also working with the daycare to make sure that the kids are out on the land and they're learning skills. We started something last year where every week the staff learns a new Anishinaabe-Moan phrase, and they try to incorporate it every day into the daycare. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to be expanding on that. And we also have started bringing a visiting elder into the daycare to share stories and to help, and to help with the kids and help with the staff.
So we're really excited about everything that's happening there. I think one thing that I would mention, speaking of the language, is we're going to be adding an Anishinaabe manager to Sagamok Education. And that person's going to be working out of the daycare, partly because we know that is a really important place for language to start happening. And, for full fluent bilingualism, the earlier we can start, the better chance of success we have. So that person, we're very excited about this role. That person is going to be supporting Anishinaabe language resurgence across all of Sagamok Education, including the high school, including providing advice to our partners at the high school, including what's happening at the Lifelong Learning Center, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. But we're going to have them situated at the daycare, partly because it's so important for those language programs to work well right from the very beginning.
Yeah, I strongly agree with you with that. Like getting to teach them while they're really young. I have a 2-year-old, and again, she's picking up little words here and there, and it's really cute when she goes, she goes, "Bamapi, bamapi," and she says "miigwech," and she's picking it up real fast, and all the stuff you do at the daycare is fun, like all the little events, like the Father's Day dinner. Went there, and it's a nice environment.
We've got a grandmother's luncheon coming up in about a week from now, and
my mom will love that.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah.
Good.
We're just gonna take a quick music break. Stay tuned after the song to hear more of me and Vance's discussion about Sagamok Education. Here's another song from Drives the Common Man, "Not Afraid to Die Tonight."
Broadcasting live from Robinson Huron Treaty Territory at 144 Ontario Avenue in Elliott Lake. CKNR is Moose FM 94.1 in the Algoma region and on Manitoulin Island, and 98.7 FM in Elliott Lake. Algoma, Manitoulин's biggest variety.
So we've been hearing a lot about the Lifelong Learning Center too. What can the community expect of the LLC and what services or programs are coming up in the future?
The Lifelong Learning Center is really taking off. And I think, I don't know if all of the listeners know the whole story of, we built a brand new school for Biidaaban up the hill in the main part of the community. And so the old school, chief and council envisioned it to be repurposed into this lifelong learning center where anything that people need to do past grade 8 is something that we can help with here. So our services have really, what we've done is we've taken the post-secondary program, the ISETS program, which is the employment and training branch that we do, adult education, and we've brought it all under one roof so that anyone who is looking for what the next thing to do in their life is can come to one spot and one person can help them out without them needing to go to a bunch of, potentially different offices. And that has worked really well. We're always looking to streamline our processes and make things easier for our clients. And so we're going to be doing a lot of work this year. And a big focus this year is to really think about innovative ways that we can expand our adult education offering to provide more timely, more culturally relevant services. We also have programs that we offer through the Lifelong Learning Center, and that's really taken off in the past few months. Over the course of the summer, we offered surface Common Core and underground Common Core training, which are both critical for the mining industry. And, to get any job in mining, you pretty much need surface Common Core. So we've been offering that. That's accredited through the Ministry of Labor through Ontario. We offered a woodland firefighting course. We've been offering office administration, ribbon skirt making workshops that have happened over a period of weeks. We've been offering Anishinaabe for adults at the Lifelong Learning Center. And the programs have gotten so big that we actually determined that we needed a full-time person just to manage those programs, because we know that in the next year, we're going to need programs that support child welfare development and other initiatives that we're doing in education. And we want to expand our Anishinaabe offerings and expand our micro-credentials. So we're actively recruiting for that position, and we're really looking forward to making an announcement, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, about what that looks like.
Sounds very exciting. I know with the Common Core, I had a friend who did that course here, and he said it was awesome. It was great. He learned a lot, and that he felt comfortable because he is part of the community. And he's just like, he doesn't, most people that want to learn, they don't like to leave the community, and that this is here and offering all these programs and other opportunities that I find it really brings a happiness in people. It's like, oh, I can actually go out and do something where I don't have to drive an hour down the highway or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. And, one of the neat things that we can do, so, Surface Common Core was offered in partnership with Legend Mining, which is a part of Sagamok Enterprises Incorporated. And, one of the things that we're really privileged to be able to do is we can offer it in the community, and we can also offer it in a way that's going to be culturally relevant and that makes sense for Sagamok people. So I know, when you talk to the leadership at Sagamok Enterprises, they're very clear that a part of the business model is environmental stewardship over the sovereign territory. And so, we get to incorporate those sort of things into the teaching. So we're really, really excited to be offering these things here.
Lastly, taking a bit of a wider view, let's talk about Sagamok education in the context of First Nations education, or even more broadly, in the context of education in the province. What is unique about Sagamok education, and what is the vision for the future, and what is taking place right now to make that happen?
Yeah, so Sagamok has jurisdiction over its education. We're not a part of the provincial system. We're not governed by the federal system. Biidaaban is a council-operated school, and we have the broad ability to develop how we do education at Sagamok. But we still fall under the Indian Act, technically, and that presents a few different problems. It limits our ability to define who our learners are. So, we end up with these very colonial definitions for what a learner is, and you have to be in the K-12 system or between this age and that age, and you have to live here versus there. And of course, we know that we have our own ability to define who our learners are. It limits our ability to work in the language of instruction that we want to work in, which is Anishinaabe and to develop the resources that we need in order to work in Sagamok's first language, Anishinaabe. And it limits our abilities at what we call the third and fourth level service. So I'm going to get a little bit technical here. When you have an education system, there's the school, but then there's also a school board, usually in the provincial system, that supports the school with things like literacy programming and numeracy programming and HR services and IT services and infrastructure, those sort of things. We call those second level services. Those are severely underfunded. And then in the provincial system, schools are also supported by ministries of education that develop evidence-based curricula. They have culturally relevant to the province, not to us, assessment and evaluation strategies. They develop policies. They develop safety procedures. They develop PD and training, set priorities. First Nations have never been funded for any of that work through core funding. So, that tells you right there that our jurisdiction over education isn't taken very seriously by Canada at this point. And the fourth level service is the jurisdiction service, where we're working with other partners and we're negotiating with Canada and with Ontario and with post-secondary institutions and consortia of post-secondary institutions. And again, we're not funded for that in any sort of core way. So our work through the First Nations with Schools Collective is all designed to have Canada recognize Sagamok's complete jurisdiction over education, including first, second, third, and fourth level services, including full services in Anishinaabe language and, the development of the resources and the professional development that's necessary to do that. And for for our own identification of our own learners. So that work has been going on for almost a decade now. And very excitingly, we're very close to a model agreement that we're hoping to negotiate with the federal government later this year. So that's all very exciting. It's very big, because what that would mean for Sagamok is that we would have the ability to define our own learners, and we would have the ability to greatly expand work in our first language, which is Anishinaabe. I don't know how much folks realize how much work goes into building a curriculum, but it takes about 80 hours of work to develop 1 hour worth of instruction. So if you figure most courses are about 110 hours a year, you're looking at, there's tens of thousands over the course of a whole school year. There's hundreds of thousands of hours of work. So it's not something, that can be done off the side of someone's desk or one or two people. We're talking about, a lot of people for a lot of time for a fully Sagamok developed curriculum. And we need to get that work started. So that's the exciting work that's happening at the level of the collective and certainly our political advocacy.
Wow, that's a lot. Like, holy.
It's big.
It's big. Yeah. I didn't realize that much work just goes into like 1 hour class, to develop. Oh,
yeah. Well, and that's the interesting thing, right? Because if we're happy to use the Ontario curriculum, most of that work is done for us. And I think that's why in a lot of cases, we default to the Ontario curriculum, is because it's already there. And most of that, 79 hours worth of that's been done. The only hour left is to do some lesson prep and to, get some stuff going. But if we're really serious about developing our own community sovereign curriculum with all of the research and appropriate scope and sequence and, age appropriate learning, then starting from the ground up is 80 hours.
Wow. I have a newfound respect for everyone in the education department. Well, that's all the time we have for you today, Miigwech Vance. I appreciate you coming on the show and giving me and the community a little insight into what education department does and what you all have in store for the new school year for our wide range of students from Sagamok, as well with what's going on at the Lifelong Learning Center and all the programs and opportunities it has to offer. Again, Miigwech Vance and Bamapi.
Miigwech Bamapi.
Bimaadiziwin Radio, the Sagamok Hour. Oh, Miigwech Vance McPherson for that informative interview. Now it's time for the Anishinaabe phrase of the day. This episode's phrase is Gije Wadize Idawag. Gije Wadize Idawag. Be kind to each other. Gije Wadize Idawag. Here is Bear Creek with the closing drum song, Nahau Bamapi. Oh, thank you for listening to Bimaadiziwin Radio, the Sagamok Hour. Bimaadiziwin Radio, the Sagamok Hour is a product of Sagamok Anishinaabe First Nation. Today's episode was written by Jacqueline Craig, Suzanne Cassidy, and Bradley Trudeau. This show is produced by Jacqueline Craig and engineered and hosted by me, Bradley Trudeau. As well, Miigwech to Vance McPherson, Director of Education for Sagamok Anishinaabe First Nation, for that very informative interview. I would like to also say Miigwech to Past Elder Dominic Eshkakogan for that awesome story of the Sagamok Indian Head. Nahau Bamapi.